I grew up in a small farming community. Its population, as we joke, 200 and dying. Billy was an Air Force pilot. He was a very unique person in the sense that he had a heart that was unreal. He Things that I could come home ranting and raving, he'd just stand there and say, "Okay, feel better now," and it was all over and done with. I mean, so he was always there for me. Then in 1983, Billy went in for a test because he kept having flu symptoms, which ended up being pneumocystis pneumonia. So the first time I ever took him to a hospital was a true experience. I didn't realize people could be so cold and so heartless. And I walked in one day and he was laying in the hallway under a blanket. He didn't have a mattress being laid on. He was just laying in the hallway. And there was food sitting there in plastic containers and throwaway spoons. He hadn't had a bath for 2 days because the nurses refused to touch him. And so I said, I can do a better job caring for him than that. So I basically kidnapped him from the hospital and took him home. I would say the last year dementia started to set in. Stripped him of all his medals. He lost his money that he would have got from the service. He lost his rank. He basically was discharged from the Army and the Air Force as dishonorable. The man had put his life on the line for this country. And here he was, laying on his deathbed, and all his commander could think of was the fact that he was a gay man and he deserved what he got. On the 7th of April, he lost his battle to this illness. And I realized that I wasn't HIV infected, I had AIDS, or at that time called GRIDS. I made a conscious choice at that moment that I wasn't going to seek treatment. I'd seen what they'd done to him, and I'd seen what they'd done to a lot of other people, and I decided that I wanted a little bit of dignity left in my life. I had been home maybe 6 months, and my house was firebombed, and they burnt my house to the ground. I've had death threats. I've been run off the road, and the stigma that comes with it is terrible. Unfortunately, I waited around to die and felt sorry for myself and went through that whole routine I think everybody goes through. And all of a sudden, I woke up one day and I thought, my God, it's been 10 years. I'm still alive, so I guess I'm going to have to do something. So I started back working, started a small convenience store in the small community I lived in. Then in '96, I became very ill. And when I walked into the hospital, and the nurse's face, and when she said, I can remember saying, "God help him." And at that point, I made a conscious choice that if I'm going to go through all this pain and suffering, then I'm going to fight this disease. I was very fortunate because at that time, PIs were just coming on, protease inhibitors were just starting on the market. Fortunately, because of those drugs, it enabled me to start to heal. I went from not working at all. After coming out of the hospital, within 3 years, I was back working full time. I knew that people had to look at this disease different, and we had to stand up. And I want to put my face out there. I want people to understand that there is life after HIV. And I'm not HIV. I'm Lonny, first and foremost. And I just happen to have this disease. And almost 11 years to the day after Billy died, we got it turned around. All his honors, he was discharged for the honorable discharge from the Army, the Air Force. He got all his medals back. He got to be buried and where he wanted to be buried. When I met Billy, he was my other half. He filled me out. I miss him every day just as much as I did the day when I lost him. But I do know one thing, that through these drugs, I've got people now that has a chance, has an opportunity to live, has an opportunity to continue working, continue being a vital part of the community. There is life, and with these new meds, it's come on the market, and through places, through the efforts of a lot of organizations, and one is amfAR. If it hadn't been for those people and the money they raised, there wouldn't have been what we have today. We will see the day, and I will be here when it happens. when this disease will no longer be a disease that's killing people in this country or anywhere else in the world. And I want to be here that day. I really want to be here that day.